Hey there and welcome to the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about a very heated discussion going around on social media about Taylor Swift's new anti-hero video and whether or not it's fat shaming. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Katie. I'm a registered dietitian and personal trainer, and here on the channel we talk about a realistic and healthy approach to food and fitness without restriction. Alright, so let's just jump into it. So the premise of the anti-hero music video is essentially Taylor Swift explaining her experience with self-criticism and her own inner demons, scrutinizing and criticizing every little thing she does, and they follow her around no matter where she goes. And there's a scene where she is being followed around by her inner self-critic. She steps on the scale, and instead of a number, she sees fat. And the accusation that many people on the internet are claiming is that in this scene, Taylor Swift is fat shaming. While I do understand that it can rub some people the wrong way, what I found when I was reading some of the comments and reactions to this video is that there was a lot of misconstruing and misconceptions going on around what I think she was truly trying to convey from her own lens of her background with disordered eating and body dysmorphia. So let's talk about it a little bit deeper. Taylor Swift has admitted to having eating disordered habits, and let's just call it what it is. She has definitely struggled with an eating disorder based on her description in Miss Americana, her documentary. She has admitted to struggling with this in addition to body dysmorphia, which is pretty common among eating disorders. Typically, when you struggle with something like anorexia, bulimia, even binge eating, you can start to have a warped perception of self, and it's not something that's really within your control. Something that I really think is a common misconception about eating disorders is that they are all completely about weight and food and nothing else. And what I want to really clarify there is that eating disorders are a psychological disorder or a mental illness, or whatever way you want to phrase it. Those words, I hate to use them because I feel like they're a little bit stigmatized. So if you have a better way of framing that in the comments below, definitely let me know. But what I mean by that is an eating disorder is not something that you have a lot of say in when it's happening to you. And oftentimes when you're in the thick of an eating disorder, you really don't even know what's happening, and you don't know that you have a problem until you're really in the thick of it. And Taylor Swift, I thought, really articulates this pretty well in one of her quotes on today.com. She says, "All I know is my own experience. My relationship with food was exactly the same psychology that I applied to everything else in life. If I was given a pat on the head, I registered it as good. If I was given punishment, I registered that as bad. I thought I was supposed to feel like I was going to pass out at the end of a show or in the middle of it. Now I realize, no, if you eat food, have energy, and get stronger, you can do all of these things and not feel exhausted." So while probably most of us cannot relate to selling out stadium shows and starting to realize our disordered eating habits were a thing during the stadium show, which, by the way, I went to Reputation. It was the best day of my life. But while we probably can't relate to her on that specific topic because it is so niche and so out of our realm, I think this articulates something that most of us can relate to in some way or another, especially if you've ever dealt with a struggle in your relationship with food. It's not something that you are cognizant of and thinking to bash other people. In fact, an eating disorder, in my own experience, I will speak for myself because I don't want this to sound bad for anyone else, but from my own experience, it's very self-focused. You are not focused on what other people look like or bashing other people or thinking, wow, that person is so large or that person is so ugly. You are thinking all internally about how you need to fit this perfect mold to be loved, to be accepted, and to be seen as beautiful. So all of that to say, when I saw that on Taylor Swift's video, I did not immediately think anything like fat phobia or she's being mean to other people intentionally. I think that she is really just trying to convey her own experience with disordered eating and perceiving herself in a certain way because of how she's been treated in the media and in every aspect of her life from a very young age. And we can probably compare this to social media nowadays. Long ago, yes, celebrities were the only people dealing with problems like this, being in the spotlight and being torn down from millions and millions of people. But nowadays, in the day and age of social media, almost all of us have probably experienced some form of internet bullying or being, torn down in some way, shape, or form by either someone you know in person on the internet, hiding behind a screen, or a troll or someone just that wants to say something negative to tear you down in that moment. And to be transparent with you, I almost didn't make this video because I was afraid of all the negative feedback that I was gonna get for saying something like this. But all of that to say, I think that this is a struggle that not only Taylor Swift has, but we all have to some degree. Probably a smaller degree than Taylor Swift, but you know what I mean. And one of the comments that I did want to make too is that I felt like in all of these comments saying that Taylor Swift was taking away from the experience of people in different bodies. Again, I understand where that comes from, and we all have our own triggers and different things that make us not feel good and things that make us feel good. But what I noticed happening in some of these comments and reaction videos and stuff like that, I saw a lot of taking away from her personal experience because she didn't fit the mold of someone that needed to worry about her body. I understand that there is a form of privilege that comes with Taylor Swift's life and her beauty and her thinness and everything like that. Hang on, I need some coffee to collect my thoughts. I have a grande apple oat macchiato, 2 pumps of brown sugar syrup, and yeah, it tastes like apple cinnamon Cheerios. I still haven't decided if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but anyway, I saw a lot of people, instead of thinking about where she was coming from in this artistic expression of her own manifestation of negative body image and disordered habits with her food and her weight, I saw a lot of people really dismissing that eating disorders and body dysmorphia can come in all shapes and sizes, and that includes Taylor Swift, who is a thin, privileged celebrity. And to illustrate this a little bit further, I want to flip it on its head and see how you feel in response to this. So it is not uncommon for someone who is technically, by BMI standards, overweight to have something like anorexia, and they can be commonly misdiagnosed because they are seen as overweight, so that is not the criteria to fit anorexia. But again, we said anorexia and other eating disorders are not just simply you don't eat enough and you should eat more. It's a psychological disorder. So you can't say just because someone is a certain weight that they are not anorexic, because that wouldn't be accurate, because psychologically they can fit that criteria by restricting foods severely, barely eating any calories, if any at all. Also having things like extreme fear of weight gain and stuff like that, body checking constantly, and constantly being obsessed with food, weights, etc. So with that, I think it's important to note that just because someone is overweight doesn't mean that they can't be anorexic, and just because someone is thin, privileged, and beautiful does not mean that they cannot struggle with disordered eating and body dysmorphia. The point I think I'm trying to convey in this video is that we shouldn't be discounting each other's experiences with disordered eating. Healing and recovery is hard enough as it is. We don't need other people telling us that we're not sick enough, or that we don't fit the mold of an eating disorder, or we don't have a good reason to have body dysmorphia. Just because someone else's experience looks totally different from yours doesn't mean that they don't have every right to share from their perspective, their story. And I think the bigger picture issue here is not Taylor Swift using this word, but more so the media and its unrealistic expectations of beauty standards. You see it everywhere: Photoshop, Facetune, filters, and celebrities who are constantly feeling pressure to get plastic surgeries and Botox and fillers and lie to their audience and tell them that they just put coconut oil on their face and that's how they look this young. It's definitely a problem in Hollywood, and it's getting to be a problem in everyday people land as well, because you and I, even though we may have a small following, are still seeing all of this constantly, bombarded with ads, bombarded with, people who are using Facetune and stuff on videos and photos that look super convincing, and fitness influencers doing stuff like this left and right. I cannot tell you how much I have learned about all of the crazy stuff that you can do to even videos nowadays to make it look like you look a certain way, and to like shape your face and shape your nose and whiten your teeth and stuff like that. Again, even on video, it's pretty insane. So I think the problem is not so much her use of the word. I think she was simply trying to convey that in the spotlight, she has experienced so much scrutiny that has translated and manifested itself into her own mind, and that is the problem. And I think that's the big core issue that you and I should be focused on right now, is how do we combat against that? We're not going to bring any progress to growing the awareness of the struggle of eating disorders in social media if we are tearing other people down for sharing their own unique experience. Let's focus more on not accepting all of these photoshopped models in the ads that we see, and saying no to programs and ads that cater to extreme weight loss. Suck the fat out of your body in 5 seconds with this new pill. We can voice our opinions on things like that are actually toxic to our culture, versus tearing down people who are genuinely trying to share their story with us. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about this whole ordeal? I want to leave an open space for you to tell me your honest opinion, because I think there's way too much cancel culture out there. There's way too much talk about, you can't say this, you have to think a certain way, you have to align exactly with how I feel about a topic. So if you disagree with me, you can absolutely let me know in the comment section below, and I'd love to have just an open discussion about this topic. What I'd also like to know is, are there any future videos that you want me to react to or talk about, or topics that you want to discuss further, like how to improve body image and how to avoid these negative influences that impact body image in the media? I think I would be here all day long if I tried to fit all of that in this video, so I will definitely do a follow-up if you're interested in that. And speaking of which, I have tons of resources that I think you'll love in the description box, including my brand new masterclass all about mindful eating. So if you're interested in having a healthier relationship with food, I think you'll love that. Definitely give it a download. It's a free masterclass. It's 45 minutes long, and it's going to teach you so much about how to get started with mindful and intuitive style eating. So check that out below. If you enjoyed this video, then definitely check out my video where I debunk 5 weight loss myths that you might still believe. And if you liked this video and want to see more of the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.